Dc1 Awaiting Another Ship. Soul-touching and life-enhancing stories. Awaiting Another Ship. Story edited by Bill. Only small children lived in the land of King Agape. The children were devoted to their king. They did not worship their king, but they adored and loved him like a father. King Agape's land was filled with the very essence of love and understanding. King Agape was truly fatherly because he provided all the children's needs. In his land of love, respect and understanding, there was no need for laws and rules. With a total understanding, mutual love, mutual respect, there were no arguments, no fights. The land was only about peace. There was not just one sun in King Agape's realm, rather there were millions of smaller suns that reflected in the waves of brilliance in the lakes, the rivers and the oceans of the land. All around the beautiful white mountains, jewels sparkled of every shade and hue. Crystal balls floated with rainbow tails everywhere, looking like small, slow-moving comets. When one of these crystal balls fell gently to the earth, it would burst open and toys would fall out. And among the toys there were balls and tops and kites and jump ropes, dolls that spoke and laughed. But never there were any toys of violence. No guns, no tanks, no warriors or soldiers. Violence was never even a thought in King Agape's land. When the light began to fade and eyelids became heavy, when twinkling stars of many colors came out to play, then the children would crawl under some large leaves and innocently fell asleep. Every hour of the day, the children were conscious of the love of King Agape, in the toys, the food that was always magically there for them to eat, and in the smell of the lovely flowers of the realm. The children did not thank King Agape with words, but with their laughter and joy. One day the children's laughter stopped. Their jumping and running slowed as they stared towards the ocean. For there on the green water was the most beautiful black ship the children had ever seen, for the children had only seen toy ships before. The sun rays reflected light off the green water onto the shining black ship, sending golden lights from the bows and decks. When the ship was docked, the captain came ashore to greet the children with laughter and shouts of joy. The captain was completely dressed in black, with a large black hat with a bright red plum on its head. The fabrics of his clothes were shiny satin and reflected the lights like his ship. "Well, children, what shall we do?" cried the captain. "Stories! Tell us some stories!" cried out the children. "Well, children, come and gather around me and the captain will tell you of the wonders he has seen." The children gathered around him and eventually quieted down. The captain told the children of far-away countries, of distant continents and rare regions, and of wondrous realms he had visited. Amongst the children could be heard, "Oh, I like to see that! How much I would really like to see that land! How much fun to see those people!" The joy and curiosity showed brightly on all their small faces. So when the captain invited any of the children who really want to see all these wonders to come along with him in a shiny black ship, no one was surprised when many small feet scampered on the ramp to his ship. Because these children knew no fear, they saw no harm or danger in anything, even leaving King Agape's lovely land. And so as the ship sailed away from the ramp and dock, there were no tears. Instead, there were shouts of joy, laughter and cheering from those children who stayed, and also those who sailed away from the gentle country of King Agape. When the children on the ship had settled down, the captain told the children, "Children, we will be visiting many, many realms of wonder and excitement on our trip. If any of you wish to remain in any of these wonderful places, you are certainly free to do so." The children cheered and shouted joyfully. He continued, "But if you remain for the entire trip, you will see the most wondrous of all the lands. In this marvelous land, giants live, and in that land they are called grown-ups. They live in tall buildings that sparkle and glow in the light. They ride in carriages without horses that run along gleaming roads. They fly in the air in shiny machines." Laughing loudly, the children moved their mouths in funny motions and stuck out their small tongues, wiggling them into funny shapes. At first the trip was filled with joy. Dolphins played tag with the ship. Flying fish flew across the bow in brilliant greens and blues. Skies changed color, from pastel blues to silver and back to pastel green or purple. When the small children were not watching these wonders, they played games made up for them by the captain, games that were played on the deck behind the rails of the ship without harm or danger to them. One morning their small eyes opened to dark grays, deep purples and blacks. The clouds in the skies were not silver or soft white, but dirty gray or white with yellow edges. The clouds did not flow gently, but streaked fiercely across the green sky. Of course the children did not know what this was, but didn't like the color. The playful whitecaps of the ocean waters had become threatening giants that attacked the ship's hull. The once soft caresses of the breezes had become powerful blows on the faces and ears of the children. Thunder, which the little ones had never heard before, made them cover their ears. Lightning flashes that they had never seen before made them scream and covered their eyes. For the first time in their life, the children were terribly frightened. They cried tears of salt water for the first time in their lives. The sea storm grew stronger and stronger, the winds became more powerful, tossing everything about on the wet deck, and children were holding on to each other for safety. And suddenly the ship rose very high and fell rapidly back to the sea, but the children were left in the air between the ship and nothing. They were caught by the strong winds and hurtled higher and higher into the flashing lightning and the thunderous sounds. They were tossed and turned every kind of way. But a strange thing happened to the tossing mass of children. They all fell into a deep, deep sleep. No one really knows, at least none of the children ever knew, how long they were tossed about in the horrible sky, but one day they awoke on a beach. But somehow they had forgotten the land of King Agape, their happiness and the voyage. In the first instance they wondered about the island. It looked lovely, with green trees, rocky mountains and rivers and lakes. They talked about exploring the island, and then the change slowly started. One argued with the other. "Why should we have to follow you? I want to go the other way, and you can't stop me." They started pointing out differences. "You are younger. You have nothing to say." There was another difference, an even sadder difference. All the children were aware of each other's complexions, eyes and hair. They pointed out to each other's different shapes and laughed cruelly, making each other feel uncomfortable, even yelling at each other, and the divisions became bigger and bigger. They created names for themselves. Respect for each other started going down rapidly, as they kept pointing out each other's differences: slanted eyes, black hair, small nose. Barriers were built along color, shape and desire. Gone was the loving understanding, the mutual respect. They separated into groups for protection from each other. They no longer shared everything, but rather fought for possession, for the best and the most. Where their passion was once for loving and sharing, now it was for anger and greed. They could hardly recall their king Love anymore. They started running, looking or chasing after something that was a part of the new world. The more they were doing so, the thicker the wall became between them and the memory of their king. Anger, greed, and other passions took the main role. As they had been children and remained children in their homeland, now they were growing older. They themselves became the so-called adults. They became the giants. Rules and laws had to be implemented and took the place of love and happiness. But when frustration, anger, and fear invaded their souls, when deep in the night they trembled and cried silently, then they felt the tugging at their hearts of something they lost. They stumbled in the darkness of illusion towards a vaguely remembered light. They longed for and leaned towards something or someone long forgotten, but the only reminder was the loving pain deep inside of them. For some this longing became unbearable, and then a silent voice would speak to them. Go to the beach, go to the beach. They would sit on the beach patiently waiting for something they couldn't remember, and for many the waiting became too long and they left again. Very few stayed and kept staring at the endless ocean and sky. Then, on the horizon, a ship was seen, a white ship coming closer, sometimes flying through the sky and then sailing in the ocean waters. As the ship slowed down and drifted in front of them, they recognized their king as the captain. By seeing their king and many children on board, they remembered, and without any hesitation they stepped on board and changed back into children again. They hugged their king, and they had big smiles on their faces as the ship took off to their homeland. "Why are we not picking up everybody, King Agape?" asked the children. "I will pick them up when they really want to leave and do not want to return to this land of giants," said King Agape. What the story could bring us. This story talks about us as spiritual beings going on a voyage to experience creation, where we unfortunately get trapped and forget our real self and our original home. But deep inside of us, all of us know that we do not belong here, that we will be delivered in the hands of a rescue, which the Creator will organize when it's time for us to return.